Yet another wonderful account, one by V. Ganeshan, known popularly amongst all of us as Ganeshan Anna. The account is entitled Muruganar and I. Muruganar and I by Ganeshan Anna. I was staying in Sri Ramanashramam for 2 years from 1956. Though he is about 89, 88 now, so born in 1935, Ganeshan Anna. I was staying in Sri Ramanashramam for 2 years from 1956. Though I was not inclined towards spirituality at that time, I was attracted to Muruganar's personality. I used to follow him, and when I saw him walking and observe his movements without any conscious effort on my part. Out of humility, he is saying he had no spiritual inclination at that time, and he would be totally absorbed in observing Muruganar, who used to walk without any kind of sense of I. When he came near Sri Bhagavan's Ramana's Sannidhi, Samadhi, at that time it was only attached at. It was not his body walking. His walk used to be like the flow of melted wax. His walk, Muruganar's walk, used to be like the flow of melted wax. It was a sight to be seen by gods when he prostrated to the master's samadhi. Likewise, I used to observe Author Osborne also. It was my feeling that there is something special in their prostrations. Since they were strict Advaitins, I once asked Osborne at a later time with what attitude they were prostrating to the samadhi of the master. Because to them, there is only one consciousness without division as subject and object. Then how are you falling at the feet of Bhagavan Samadhi? He replied with a smile, Shri Bhagavan alone is. So only the undivided consciousness is. So the Bhakti Marga sadhanas are all allowed, but with the feeling of that Bhagavan alone is. All the movement, standing up, falling at feet, all are only Bhagavan. When I look back attributing this reply to Muruganar, which I could not get from him directly, I understand in what mood and what spirit he was prostrating to Bhagavan Ramana. The body was Muruganar was there only for the observers. Otherwise, it was only Bhagavan Ramana alone prostrating to himself in his shrine of grace. Otherwise, it was only Bhagavan Ramana alone prostrating to himself in his shrine of grace. It was Muruganar's simplicity that revealed his greatness. Again, when I settled down permanently in the ashram in 1960, Muruganar used to come daily to the kitchen for bhiksha. At that time, Dr. Hugo had not yet started his treatment for Muruganar. Muruganar was suffering from some ailment. Leaving his chappals behind the old hall, he would walk barefooted in the hot sun at 11:30 a.m. to collect the bhiksha from the kitchen. One Natesha Iyer from kitchen used to bring the bhiksha to him in a leaf. It was a mixture of rice, vegetables and sambar. Muruganar would collect it in his upper cloth. Along with the vesti, there will be a tund, the upper cloth. In that, he will receive the bhiksha. One day, when he went inside the dining hall to collect the bhiksha, I ran to the old hall, brought his chappals, and kept them near the steps leading to the dining hall, and was standing there. When Muruganar came out, he saw me with his chappals. He admonished me and told me not to repeat it. When I explained the cause, that I wanted to avoid his walking barefooted in the sun with cracks on his feet, he told me that I do not know anything and should not do such things. That Ganesha Nana did not know anything about these things. Why, what kind of respect is to be shown? Why chapels are left that you don't know anything? Why do you interfere with this? You just keep quiet out of this. Whether the leg is walking in hot sun or not, you don't know, don't interfere. I would also like to mention that it was about admonishing from Muruganar, he will tell later how a blessing it is. I would also like to mention that it was a beautiful sight to watch him walk with the Bhiksha without any body consciousness. I used to admire this till he disappeared from my sight. Once, Dr. Hugo and Sai Das, a professional photographer who had costly cameras, decided to take a photograph of Muruganar, and they were competing with each other to see whose photograph would be better. I had an ordinary camera and I too wanted to photograph Muruganar, but I was not sure how I would fare in the competition as I could not match them in the art. When they approached Muruganar for this purpose, he refused to permit it. After 2 or 3 days, when he went to the dining hall to collect Bhiksha, I was waiting outside with my camera, hiding it behind my back. Seeing me waiting outside for him, he asked me somewhat angrily, "What?" Noticing the camera in my hand, he just stood there, allowing me to click. After that, he warned me not to play all these tricks with him, and went away. I forgot about this, but after a month, Dr. Hugo and Saidas met me and told that the photo which I took was just like Sri Bhagavan's willing bust, and that what they looked, what they took afterwards were not a match to it. That particular photo of Muruganar is still with me, and whenever I look at it, I remember his grace. I'll read that part again. Dr. Hugo and Saidas met me and told that the photo which I took, which Muruganar had allowed, was just like Sri Muruganar's image there was just like Sri Bhagavan's welling bust, and that they took afterwards, what they took afterwards were not a match to it. That particular photo of Muruganar is still with me, and whenever I look at it, I remember his grace. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. We continue the satsang with a self-enquiry practice session guided by Shri Dileep Simhaji.
Namo Ramana. ध्यायेत् शारदचन्द्रसुन्दरमुखम् ताम्रारविन्देक्षणम् भक्ताभीष्टवराभयप्रदकरम् कौपीनमात्रोज्ज्वलम् स्वात्मानन्दरसानुभूतिविवशम् सर्वानवद्याङ्गकम् श्रीमन्तं श्रीरमणेश्वरं गुरुवरं योगासनाध्यासितम् ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणेश्वरम् ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणेश्वरम् ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणेश्वरम् हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् यहमहमिति साक्षातात्मरूपेण भाति हृदि विषमनसा स्वं चिन्वतामज्जतव पवनचलनरोधात् आत्मनिष्ठो भवत्वम्. Namo Ramana. We will commence the Atma Vicharam by listening and meditating on Bhagavan's Upadesham. I'll be reading his Upadesham from the book Guruvachaka Kovai from the chapter Experience of the Truth. The topic is The Self is Eternally Realized. Verse 881. The whole benefit that stands to be derived from the heart directed inquiry is only the destruction of the false I thought. It is sheer folly to say that the benefit is the attainment of the reality, the self that shines clearly, ever attained. I repeat the verse. The whole benefit that stands to be derived from the heart directed inquiry is only the destruction of the false I thought. It is sheer folly to say that the benefit is the attainment of the reality, the self that shines clearly, ever attained. What a profound teaching here. For a pot to become clay, what it needs to do. For a wave to become water, what does it need to do? It is through and through, the pot is through and through clay. The wave is through and through only water. It is only that the pot, the name that it has gained by taking that form, the clay, which has got a name and which has got a form and which has gained some purpose with that form, which is what is all is the ego, which keeps on making the meaning or what it can do with it. That in similar way, if that is dropped, that means if the form is gone, if the name is gone, then it continues to be the clay. Or if the form is there and the name is there, still it continues to be the clay. Same is true with the wave. Likewise, Sharda goes on asking us to meditate. What is a thought made of? Thought is nothing but consciousness. What is body? It is of consciousness. What is we see in the dream? It is all consciousness. What will we see? Everything in the waking, we see consciousness. When we say there is nothing, in what, from what do we see? It is consciousness. It is always our own existence and consciousness. Like the clay has become the pot, this fundamental thing itself is appearing as all of this. So if inquiry, the heart-based inquiry, which Bhagavan says, who am I? What does it really do? It only makes us move our attention or in the false knowledge that we are this name and form by inquiring who am I? Find out our real nature or that which all of this is really appearing. That is that nothing but that pure Satchitananda. That is our nature, the existence consciousness. So by a heart-based inquiry, all that we end up gaining is not the Satchidananda, because Satchidananda itself is everything. So the heart-based inquiry only makes us realize that the wrong ignorance that or the ignorance that we are holding on to, that we have this name and form, will be questioned and figured out to be unreal. And it is only that even in this name and form, it is only the Satchidananda Vastu that we are experiencing. The self alone is all of this. Therefore, Bhagavan is saying here the whole benefit that stands to be derived from the heart directed inquiry. When we really try to find out what is the real essence of things. What is the real essence of a pot? We will find out it to be nothing but clay. What is the real essence of wave? We figure out that it is nothing but water. Like that, when we inquire, who am I? We find out that all the name and form, or the absence of the name and form, or its subtle appearances in dream or in thoughts, all are nothing but that Satchidananda only. And therefore, there is nothing to be done. The inquiry doesn't bring about the Satchidananda. It only eliminates or destroys this wrong identification or limitation of that infinite Satchidananda space to only this name and form, that which is being done by the false I thought. It eliminates that. It makes us recognize that this I thought, this attachment to the name and form, is in a way objecting that vast space of consciousness, making it appear small, whereas it is always in its fullness at all times. Therefore, all that one needs to do is let go this or destroy this false I thought. The truth is ever present, is ever shining. There is nothing to be attained. The self that becomes clearly attained here and now, says Bhagavan, not somewhere after, not after the destruction of this name, not after the destruction of this form. Here and now, that the truth alone is everything would be understood, and the limiting of the truth to some name and form will be destroyed. That is the destruction of ignorance, and the gaining of knowledge is natural. There is nothing one needs to do, says Bhagavan. Therefore, the self is eternally realized, says Bhagavan. So, Atma Vichara is a way for us to inquire whenever we limit the limitless self to any form, whether it's a thought form or to the body or to some object. To whom is this? And by that, it makes us move our attention from being getting limited by destroying that limitation back to it is for me, and then who am I takes us, even makes us recognize even the I is a limitation, and therefore who am I, which takes us to the heart of the I. What do I refer to as I? Takes us really back to that truth, that self, which alone is everything, or which alone is experiencing itself. Clay alone is the pot. Water alone is the wave. There cannot be a wave without water, but the water can remain without the form of wave. The clay can remain without the form of pot, not the other way around. And therefore, it becomes easy to destroy all the limiting thing, and or not destroy means no more give attention to it, and experience the fullness, experience the truth alone clearly here and now. And that is the whole benefit of this heart based inquiry, says Bhagavan. With his abundant grace, for the next 10 minutes, let us practice Atma Vichara. Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. We continue the satsang with meditations on Atma Bodham shared by Sri Venkatesh Deshpande.
Oh, Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviram Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Dhanamulam Gurur Murti, Pujamulam Gurur Padam. Mantramulam vakyam mokshamulam guror kripa mokshamulam guror kripa. Ramana. We're doing manana on Atma Bodha, and the last satsang we were doing manana on verse number 42. We'll do a quick recap of that. Thus, by the constant churning of contemplation on the wood of Atma, the flame of knowledge is born, which burns up the entire fuel of ignorance. Read that again. Thus, by the constant churning of contemplation on the wood of Atma, the flame of knowledge is born, which burns up the entire fuel of ignorance. Evam means thus. It indicates a conclusion drawn after having explained the subject of contemplation and meditation in the foregoing verses. When you reject the lower self and attune yourself with the higher self, you gain the knowledge of the self. You then destroy all your vasanas. You no longer suffer from the limitations of an individual existence. The metaphor of churning of knowledge appears in the Kaivalya Upanishad. In the Vedic period, fire was invoked for performing rituals. A wooden rod was held tightly between two other wooden pieces, which was scooped in to accommodate the two ends of the rod. The rod was then turned in the clockwise and anti-clockwise directions to generate heat by friction. This process was continued till fire was generated. The fire then consumed the entire fuel placed in a trough for the purpose of the ritual. The ash left behind was distributed to the participants. An interpretation point is to note is the an interesting point to note in this ritual is that the fire is generated from the wood itself and not obtained from a different source. Fire is said to be inherent in the wood in an unmanifested form. By the process of churning, the unmanifest fire in the wood is brought into manifestation. Similarly, Atman resides within us. We do not recognize it. The process of contemplation and meditation brings on the Atman to our cognition. In the metaphor, the fuel represents the vasanas by ignorance of the self. The upper wooden block stands for the supreme self, the lower block for the lower self, the ego. The lower is united with the higher by meditation following the process of negation and assertion. Thus, by constantly negating your lower self and asserting your higher self, you gain the knowledge of the self. When more and more of the knowledge is gathered, the ignorance vasanas are destroyed and the misconceptions of a pluralistic world disappears. So now we will do manana on verse number 43, and I request Sapna to kindly chant the verse for us, please.
Yes, sir. Namo Ramana. अरुणेनवबोधेन पूर्वं सन्तमसे हृते तत आविर्भवेतात्मा स्वयं एव अंशुमानिव अरुणेनवबोधेन पूर्वं सन्तमसे हृते तत आविर्भवेतात्मा स्वयं एव अंशुमान् इव. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sapna. As the sun rises by itself after dense darkness is destroyed by dawn, so the Atman reveals itself after ignorance is destroyed by knowledge. As the sun rises by itself after dense darkness is destroyed by dawn, so the Atman reveals itself after ignorance is destroyed by knowledge. The infinite being cannot be achieved by finite efforts. Self realization is not a direct result or effect of spiritual practices. Realization of self is like the sun rising in the morning. Even before the sun rises, the dawn dispels the darkness. The entire darkness is removed by the light of the approaching sun. The horizon is well lit when the sun makes the appearance. Similarly, by acquiring knowledge through spiritual study and practice, you get rid of your negative tendencies like lust, kama, anger, krodha, greed, lobha, etc., which cause agitations in your mind. The mind is quietened by the exhaustion of such negativities. Thus, when it reaches the state of absolute tranquility, the inner self reveals itself. Empty thyself, and I shall fill thee, are the blessed words of Christ. Empty thyself, and I shall fill thee. Religions only prepare your inner personality by destroying ignorance with the help of spiritual knowledge. The Atman reveals itself. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana.
Thank you.
In the next part of the satsang, we are meditating on the verses of Ramana Chatvarimshat written by Vasishta Kavya Kanta Ganapati Muni, and they have been compiled and given to us in the beautiful format of Ramana Chatvarimshat by Bhagavan Ramana himself. And we are at this beautiful verse, which was composed in one of the Jayantis, where the devotees requested Ganapati Muni to sing a verse in praise of Ramana. And this is what Ganapati Muni wrote and sung on that day, because he was Kavya Kanta Ganapati Muni. He just, this verse just sprang from his throat and was offered to Ramana on the day of Jayanti. देवी शक्तिरियं दृशो श्रितजन त्वान्तक्षयादायिनी देवीं श्रीरियम् अम्बुजाक्षमहिषी वक्त्रे सहस्रच्चदे देवी ब्रह्मवदूर्यं विजयते व्याहारगूढापर विश्वाचार्य महानुभाव रमण त्वां स्तौतुक प्राकृतः रमणं गुरुं नमामि 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 रमणं गुरुं नमामि. Ganapati Muni describes Ramana as the divine mother, the mother principle. Ramana himself, he in the Arunachala Aksharamanamalai says, "O Arunachala, ஈன்றிடும் அன்னையிற் பெரிதருள் புரிவோய் இதுவோ உனதருள் Arunachala." He says, you are much more kinder than one's own mother who has born, who has given birth to us. We wonder that the epitome of love is one's own mother. And how can the Supreme Arunachala, when you're talking about Arunachala, he is not different from Ramana. How can Ramana be much more beyond the love of one's own mother? When we meditate, we understand. Our mother, she provides us whatever we need, and she takes care of us, and she teaches us what all needs to be learned, and she showers her unconditional love every moment of our life. But the Supreme is much more kinder than one's own mother, because whatever resource our mother require to take care of us, if the mother requires the grains to prepare food, if she needs vegetables and fruits to prepare food and give it to the child, if the mother needs a house to give shelter to the child, all these resources have been created by the Supreme long, long ago and is ready to be given to us at the right time of our need. So Ramana says, "Oh Arunachala, you are much more kinder than one's own mother." So that's why here Ganapati Muni is comparing Ramana to all the Jagan Matas. And he says, "Oh Ramana, in your eyes is Devi Shakti, the consort of Shiva, who just by your glance, she is destroying the darkness of ignorance of the devotees. And in your face is thousand Lakshmis blossoming like thousand lotuses in your beautiful expressions. And that Lakshmi is the consort of the one with the lotus eye, Mahavishnu. And in your activities, your actions, your speech, we see that Saraswati, the consort of Brahma, is shines forth, and we can see her triumph in every movement of yours. O Vishwacharya Mahanubhava Ramana, how can this ordinary man, Prakritaha, how can this ordinary man describe your glory, says Ganapati Muni. Last time we were meditating on how Ramana's glance, it destroys the Ajnanandakara of the devotees. To reveal this, he was born with an all-enveloping light being seen by a blind woman. Why to a blind woman? We are all blinded by the darkness of ignorance. So, to remind us, for everyone, all those who feel that they are being veiled by this darkness of ignorance, to reveal the light which is ever present. Ramana was born on that day of Ardra Darshana, the day when the Supreme appeared as a huge column of light amidst the great gods Brahma and Vishnu, and to reveal that this light, which is all enveloping, which is ever present, cannot be understood by possessing anything in the world, just like Lakshmi Pati Vishnu, or neither can be understood by acquiring all the worldly knowledge, just like the Saraswati Pati Brahma. But that light can be understood only by surrender, just like how that old lady who was surrendered, who did not see anything else. We are so caught up in seeing that and that and that and this, we forget to turn towards the self, the light which is ever present within. We are so much caught up in the various experiences and various objects which surround us. But that blind woman who could not see anything else could see that light which does not need eyes to be seen. That light was seen by that old woman who was helping Alagammal in the delivery. And Ramana learned the Nayana Vidya from Meenakshi Amman in Madurai. And then he came to Arunachala to shower that power of Meenakshi Amman through his eyes to all the comers. And that power is so eternal that it is flowing even now in every photograph that we see of Ramana. The few days back, we had gone to Tumkur University for a Vichara Sankirna, a seminar on the teachings of Ramana. And uh, every speaker would speak about Ramana's the beautiful eyes. They say that is so captivating that one of a devotee who just saw once this picture of Ramana, and she was so engrossed in that pictures. Dileep Simhaji was describing his instance where he had gone to get some papers printed from by uh, typed by a lawyer, and that lawyer had one beautiful picture of Ramana. And when he inquired how come she has this photograph of Ramana, she told, my son brought this photograph from somewhere, and I was so mesmerized by these beautiful eyes that I have been collecting the photographs of Ramana, and I have made an album of all the photographs and the printouts that I have taken from the internet of Ramana. So, such is the power of this beautiful glance, where Ganapati Muni says it is Shakti herself which is showering from his eyes, destroying the Ajnanandakara of the devotees. And in the next line he says, he is his face, his expressions, it showers Lakshmi. It is it is full of beautiful Lakshmis, thousands of Lakshmi blossoming in his face. When the poets have described Rama, they say his face is like lotus, his hands are like lotus, his feet are like lotus. In the lotus like face, there are two beautiful more lotuses that are the two eyes of Rama. Their lips are like lotus. So each thing is like lotus, says the poets. And here, Ganapati Muni says, oh Ramana, in your face, thousands of lotus blossom. There's a beautiful instance when Rama is going to the garden in Janakapuri, that is in Mithila, before marrying Sita. But all the Sakis, when he's entering the garden to pluck the flowers, all the Sakis stop Rama and say, oh Rama, You are not allowed inside the garden because it's very, very dangerous. Because the bees in the garden are very, very dangerous. They all come and they all suck the nectar from all the flowers in the garden. If you enter the garden, your face is like lotus, your eyes is like lotus. So all the uh, bees are going to attack you and they are going to completely swallow you up. So we are reminding you, we are warning you, please don't go inside the garden, says the Sakis. But Rama and Lakshmana say, we have come by the orders of Vishwamitra Swami. Vishwamitra Sarushi, he wants us to get some flowers for the puja. So how can we go without getting flowers? Please allow us inside the garden. And all the Sakis are telling, no, 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 no. We have heard your Leela that you have done, your divine sport. You touched a rock, and that rock turned into Ahalya Devi, into a woman. If you start touching all the plants, and what if all the plants become ladies? Then what will happen to us? From where will we get the beautiful flowers and flower bushes? So will not allow you to touch our garden and the flowers in our garden. And Rama says, no, no, before touching the plants, I will go and wash my hands so that it will not disturb it will not change the, the, the bushes into women. And they say, no, 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 you are not allowed inside the tank because tank, we have some steps to get inside the tank and to fetch the water. So if you touch those steps, and what if the steps turn into a woman? And then what will be happen? How can we use the water in the pond? So the Sakis are bringing up new problems, and Rama is fed up and he says, oh Sakis, you are only telling the problems. You are not telling me a solution. Please tell me what is the solution. I will do that. And the Sakis will think a little bit, they think about it and they say, there is only one mantra in Mithila. That one mantra is Sita Mata Ki Jai. If one says Sita Mata Ki Jai, then all the problems will vanish. Okay? And Rama is feeling shy. How can I say Sita Mata Ki Jai? Uh, Later, she's going to get married, but now, how can I say Sita Mata Ki Jai? But Lakshmana says, oh, my dear brother Rama, you keep telling Sita Mata Ki Jai in your heart. Why don't you tell it aloud and put an end to all these problems? So, this is a folklore which is told by Swamijis in the north of India. So, such is the beauty, just like how Rama face was full of lotuses. And what are these lotuses? The lotuses are the Sita Mata herself, who is blossoming in all the expressions of Ramana. Kanakamal, she describes in her interview, she says that at Tiruvannamalai, she used to have lot of problems. When it rains, the water used to enter the house, and with the water, the snakes also used to enter the house. And she says it was so difficult to put the clothes for drying, because when she puts clothes for drying, the snakes used to be sitting on the rope, and she had to tap the rope before she has to take her clothes back. So every day lot of problems, and she used to say, "Are you enough, fellas, enough? I can't stay alone here in Tiruvannamalai. I will just go and ask permission to Ramana and go away from Tiruvannamalai." That was the thought just before she entered the hall. And as soon as she entered the hall, all the thought vanished. That smile of Bhagwan Ramana, it just transformed her. She did not have any other thought. She just sat there till the evening. And when she went back, the problem came back. But that smile transformed all the problems. Dr. Sharda, in one of her compositions on on Ramana as Devi, she says, inspired by this very verse, She says, Adi illada maya vyadiyanu neegisuva Adi Lakshmi Tayini Ramana Adi Lakshmi Tayini. Ramana, you are that Adi Lakshmi who removes the Maya Vyadi, which does not have any beginning at all, which does not exist at all. That Maya Vyadi you remove. And ದೇಹ ಬಯಲಲಿ ಜ್ಞಾನ ಸುಗ್ಗಿಯ ನೀಡುವ ಧಾನ್ಯ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ತಾಯಿನಿ ರಮಣ ಧಾನ್ಯ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ತಾಯಿನಿ. This field called kshetra, Bhumi, you've given this plot for us to cultivate the suggi, the harvest of jnana through our sadhana. You have blessed us with this, the body, Bhumi. And she says, ಬಡತನದ ನೆನಪಳಿಸಿ ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣಗೊಳಿಸುವ ಭಾಗ್ಯಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ತಾಯಿನಿ ರಮಣ ಭಾಗ್ಯಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ತಾಯಿನಿ. ಬಡತನದ ನೆನಪಳಿಸಿ ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣಗೊಳಿಸುವ ಭಾಗ್ಯಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ತಾಯಿನಿ ರಮಣ ಭಾಗ್ಯಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ತಾಯಿನಿ. ರಮಣ, you destroy the thought of poverty. Even the richest man is always begging. There's a beautiful story of Akbar and the beggars. The Akbar has come to one mosque to pray to God. And all the beggars are waiting that the king is going to come and give them charity, and they are going to get nice money from gifts from the king. They're all waiting. And one of the fakirs enters the mosque and checks, what is this Akbar doing? And Akbar is holding his hand like this and praying to God. And the fakir comes and announces, oh, my dear friends, we are all thinking that Akbar is a king. But he is not a king. He is one among us. He is praying to that Supreme with his hand stretched like this, asking him for something. Why should we ask from another beggar? Instead, we should ask that Supreme, who is the richest one, who is giving to even Akbar. Come, let us all pray to that Supreme to give us the all the wealth. So, such is the beauty of Ramana, that he makes us that supreme. He makes us understand that there is no need for asking. We can be happy with whatever we have. And V. Ganeshanana, when we met him once, he was describing the stories of great devotees who did not have anything. And if somebody, he went to a devotee's house and was wondering, oh, there is no chair at all in your room, I should get some chairs next time when I come. The devotees used to say, what is the requirement for the chair? Bhagavan has given us this mat, showing that small mat which was given by some devotee. And this Bhagavan has given us this much. And the beautiful story of Shastri Mama, the Venkatesh Sharma, who was a great prolific Prashna Shastrajna. He was a Jyotishi, but he left his lucrative career of telling Jyotisha, and he surrendered to Ramana. And he thought that staying at Ramanashram, it's very, very comfortable. We can't do sadhana. So he was staying in Adiyannamalai, away from the ashram, and doing his sadhana. And in his last few days, he had got elephantiasis, where the leg had swollen into a big shape. And V. Ganeshanna went and started weeping with Shastri Mama and telling Shastri Mama, you are such a great devotee of Bhagavan, dedicated your whole life for sadhana. How is this happening to you? Why has your leg become like this? And Shastri Mama jokingly told, oh Ganesha, why are you seeing only the Kal? Why don't you see the Mukkal? In Tamil, the Kal means quarter. Why are you seeing this quarter? There is another 3/4 which is good. Why are you not seeing that? So such was the the greatness of the devotees of Ramana, who were full, complete, without any thought of any poverty, because they had seen that face of Ramana, which which showers all prosperity. prosperity where there is no want, there is only fullness, to reveal us that we are all full. There is no need for us to seek something outside. What we are seeking, we already are. To reveal this truth, Ramana has come into our lives. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. We continue the satsang with the meditation on Ashtottara by Dr. Sharda.
Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as a self in all beings. By the immense grace of the self manifest as Ramana, we continue our meditations on the Ramana Ashtottara Shatanamavali, which has its basis in the Ramana Ashtottara Shatanama Stotram of Vishwanatha Swami. And we have been meditating on the namas Virupaksha Guhavasaya Namaha, and looking at that nama itself, an expansion of that nama into the several other namas which follow. Viraja Dachala Kritaye Namaha. We were meditating on that, how Bhagavan is the light which is absolutely still, the light which is unmoving, because the light of the self cannot move anywhere. It is all encompassing. Because it's all encompassing, where will it go? It has to be achala. There is nothing apart from it. It's all enveloping. It's everywhere. When it's everywhere, from where to where can it go? So it is achala, and it is virajat, means it is effulgent. It is so full of light. See, we say that we saw how Humphreys had come, how Raghavachari had come, and how he had a vision of Bhagavan as space and then as light. And how Humphreys came. When Humphreys came, he came along with Ganapati Muni the first time. And he says, Muni asked him to keep gazing into Bhagavan's eyes. Just keep looking at Bhagavan's eyes. And Humphrey says, what I saw was that God was radiating terrifically from the corpse. Virajat Achalak, Virajat, God was radiating terrifically. And what was that body? That body, he says, was like a corpse, like a dead body. So, can a dead body move? It does not move at all. It is absolutely still. So, Achala Kritaye Nama. It is of the nature of the hill, the stillness, absolute stillness, and it is effulgent, says Humphreys. And to Humphreys, Bhagavan gave the Upadesha to turn back to the source, to look at that which is shining as the unmoving self. He told Humphreys, you do not look at any of the passing phenomena. Any experience in the world, do not give emphasis to it. Do not give importance to it. Just say to yourself, strange things are happening in this world. Let them happen. Strange things, says Bhagavan. Something is happening, some strange thing is happening. Actually, some of us, when we wake up from our dream, we will feel that, what was it that happened in the dream? So many strange things happened. There does not seem to be any connection between the first point of the dream to the last point. Everywhere something is changing. Somebody becomes someone else. Some place becomes some other place. So that achala kritaye namaha, that achala, that the word, the achala is watching that or is witness to that strange movie, says Bhagavan. Obviously, the self is not any of the experiences which are changing, because if the self is to be defined as that which is achala, achala means it does not move. Achala also means if it does not change. There is no change in it. It is changeless. It, that is why it is called achala. Movement is change. So there is no movement in it, there is no change in it, and it remains as that which is. So what is it? It cannot be that achalatva, that unmoving self which Bhagavan is, cannot be any of the things that move. It cannot be any of the transient, changing experiences. So Bhagavan tells Humphreys, don't put attention on any of these things. Call them strange happenings. Strange things are happening. Let them happen. But you keep your attention on that which sees. Bhagavan says, not on that which is seen, not on any of the perceived phenomena, not even on the process of seeing. Which means, if I am a witness, if I remain as a sakshi, then what happens? I do not identify myself with any of the events. Then the events are passing. One after another, events are passing. And I am not worried about the passing of events. But I will recognize that I am the Sakshi, I am the seer. What is happening there? There, the emphasis is not on the scene, but the emphasis is on the process of seeing. But Bhagavan says, don't even stop there. Don't put your attention even on the process of seeing, but only on that which sees. So when the entire attention is on that which sees, that means there is no other apart from it. There is no duality at all, and there is perfect stillness of the self, which just shines as itself. As Bhagavan says in the Ekashloki, aham, 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 like that it is shining. Aham, aham iti sakshat atma rupena bhati. So it is that which is shining, ever effulgent, says Bhagavan. And this is a conscious merger with the self that is achala, that is shining, that is viraja dachala kritaye namaha. This epithet of Bhagavan also refers to the fact that he is verily the self. He also remains absolutely still within and practically without as well. Viraja dachalakritaye namaha, uddiptanayanaya namaha. And what Vishwanath Swami is saying is, he is still, absolutely still, but his eyes are alight. They are like lamps, uddipta, they are shining. So in shining, we do find a movement, whether it's in the flame of the candle or whether it's any star which is shining. There is a pulsating movement in shining, which Bhagavan calls spurana, the aham spurana. So, though perfectly still, his eyes are alight with knowledge. So there is the Sat, which does not move at all, pure consciousness. And there is the Chit Shakti, which is one with the Sat. Sattaya hi Chit, Chittaya hyaham. There is no differentiation between the Sat and the Chit. So when one's attention begins to focus on the Chit, what happens? The Chit manifests as the shining of the self. Aham, 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 like that it manifests. And it reveals itself through the eyes of Bhagavan. He says, Uddipta Nayanaya Namaha. When one sees the eyes of Bhagavan, one finds them absolutely brilliant, absolutely alight, alive and alight. विराजदचलाकृतये नमः उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः Purnaya Namaha. Bhagavan is that fullness, the absolute fullness. To that fullness we prostrate, and that fullness is only the Achala Kriti is because he is Purna, because he is complete, because there is nothing to be added from anywhere outside, and nothing can ever be taken away. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramana.
Namo Ramana. We have the chanting of a few verses of Arunachala Aksharamanamalai by Srimati V.Radha.
अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल ஓங்கார பொருள் ஒப்புயர்வில் நோய் முனையார் அறிவார் அருணாச்சலா ஔவை பொல் எனக்கு உன் அருளை தந்தென்னை ஆளுவதுன் கடன் அருணாச்சலா கண்ணுக்கு கண்ணாய் கண்ணின்றி காணுனை காணுவதெவர் பார் அருணாச்சலா காந்தம் இரும்பு போல் கவர்ந்தென்னை விடாமல் கலந்தென்னோடிருப்பாய் அருணாச்சலா கிரியுருவாகிய கிருப்பை கடலே கிருப்பை கூர்ந்தருளுவாய் அருணாச்சலம் கீழ்மேலெங்கும் கிளரொளி மணியன் கீழ்மையை பால் செய் அருணாச்சலம் குற்றமுற்றரு தென்னை குணமாய் பணித்தாள் குரு குருவாயொளிர் அருணாச்சலம் கூர்வாட்கண்ணியர் கொடுமயிர் படதலுள் கூர்ந்தென்னை சேர்ந்தருள் அருணாச்சலம் கெஞ்சியும் வஞ்சியாய் கொஞ்சமும் இறங்கில்லை அஞ்சல் என்றே அருள் அருணாச்சலா கேளாதளிக்கும் முன் கேடில் புகழை கேடு செய்யாதருள் அருணாச்சலா கை நிற்கனி உன் மெய்ரசம் கொண்டு உவகை வெறி கொள அருள் அருணாச்சலா கொடியிட்டடியரை கொல்லுனை கட்டி கொண்டெங்கன் வாழ்வேன் அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ 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 அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சலம் வாழி அன்பர்களும் வாழி அக்ஷரமணமாலை வாழி நமோ ரமணா.
Namo Ramana. We conclude today's satsang with Ashtottara puja to Bhagavan. The Ashtottara puja will be done at the altar of Sri Dileep Simhaji, and the chanting of the Ashtottaram will be done by Vaibhavji and Prarthana, followed by Ujwal Jagadeesh, and the Arati song will be sung by Dr. Pratibha.
नमो रमण भारद्वाज विश्वनाथ विरचितं श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तर शतनामावलिः अपार सच्चित् सुखवारिराशे यस्योर्मिमात्रं भुवनं समस्तं गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि ॐ महासेन महोंसेन जाताय नमः ॐ श्रीरमणाय नमः ॐ गुरवे नमः। ॐ अखण्डसंविदाकाराय नमः। ॐ महौजसे नमः। ॐ कारणोद्भवाय नमः। ॐ जगद्धितावताराय नमः। ॐ श्रीभूमिनाथस्थलोत्थिताय नमः। ॐ पराशरकुलोत्तंसाय नमः। ॐ सुन्दरार्यतपःफलाय नमः। ॐ कमनीयसुचारित्राय नमः। ॐ सहायाम्बा सहायवते नमः। ॐ शोणाचलमहोलीनमानसाय नमः। ॐ स्वर्णहस्तकाय नमः। ॐ श्रीमद्वादशान्तमहास्थले लब्धविद्योदयाय नमः। ॐ महाशक्तिनिपातेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः। ॐ परमार्थविदे नमः। ॐ तीव्राय नमः। ॐ पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः। ॐ इन्दुमौलिना पितृमते नमः। ॐ पितुरादेशतः शोणशैलं प्राप्ताय नमः। ॐ तपोमयाय नमः। ॐ उदासीनाय नमः। ॐ महायोगिने नमः। ॐ महोत्साहाय नमः। ॐ कुशाग्रदिये नमः। ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसंरम्भाय नमः। ॐ सुसन्दृशे नमः। ॐ सवित्रे नमः। ॐ स्थिराय नमः। ॐ तपक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः। ॐ फुल्लाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः। ॐ चन्द्रिकासितहासश्रीमण्डिताननमण्डलाय नमः। ॐ चूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः। ॐ चूर्णिताखिलविभ्रमाय नमः। ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः। ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः। ॐ त्रिगुणातीताय नमः। ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः। ॐ विराजदशलाकृतये नमः। ॐ उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः। ॐ पूर्णाय नमः। ॐ रचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः। ॐ गम्भीराय नमः। ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः। ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः। ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणास्यनिभाय नमः। ॐ धीराय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः। ॐ स्वराजे नमः। ॐ महर्षये नमः। ॐ भगवते नमः। ॐ ईड्याय नमः।
ॐ भूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः। ॐ विमलाय नमः। ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः। ॐ आप्ताय नमः। ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः। ॐ समदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्याय नमः। ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः। ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः। ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः। ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः। ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः। ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः। ॐ श्रीशोणाचलहृत्पूतस्कन्दाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः। ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदेष्ट्रे नमः। ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः। ॐ गणेशमुनिभृङ्गेन सेविताङ्घ्रिसरोरुहाय नमः। ॐ गीतोपदेशसारादिग्रन्थसञ्छिन्नसंशयाय नमः। ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः। ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः। ॐ सौम्याय नमः। ॐ आत्मवते नमः। ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानाम् आराध्याय नमः। ॐ सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः। ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः। ॐ महाभागाय नमः। ॐ मातृमुक्तिविदायकाय नमः। ॐ विनताय नमः। ॐ विनुताय नमः। ॐ विप्राय नमः। ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः। ॐ पावकोज्ज्वलाय नमः। ॐ दर्शनादगसंहारिणे नमः। ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः। ॐ हृच्चान्तिकरसान्निध्याय नमः। ॐ स्मरणात् बन्धमोचकाय नमः। ॐ अन्तस्तिमिरचण्डांशवे नमः। ॐ संसारार्णवतारकाय नमः। ॐ शोणाद्रीशस्तुतिद्रष्ट्रे नमः। ॐ हार्द्रविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः। ॐ अविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः। ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः। ॐ कमण्डलुधराय नमः। ॐ शुभ्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः। ॐ गुहाय नमः। ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः। ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः। ॐ भवरोगविषग्वराय नमः। ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः। ॐ देवतमाय नमः। ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः। ॐ सेनान्ये नमः। ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः।
ॐ श्रीरमण भगवते नमः। श्री अष्टोत्तरशतनाम पूजां समर्पयामि। यस्थाणोररुणाचलस्य पदयोः स्मृत्या जनिं प्राप्यत दिव्यानुग्रह सुप्रवाह विवशस्थाधात्म्यभावं गतः हृन्निष्ठस्वगभीरनित्यतपसा लोकान् पुनास्येकराट् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नम इदं लोकोत्तरज्योतिषे। नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावर्ण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि दर्शन सुख मंगल मुख सकल जीवहित सम्मुख ब्रह्म संगिये सदा तिष्ठ सदा हृष्ट सदा शिवानंद पुष्ट परम महर्षि ब्रह्मनिष्ठ समदर्शि नमो 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 रमण सदाशिवप्रभावर्ण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि ನಮ್ಮ ಮನವದೊಂದು ಕಾಡು ನೀನರಿತೆ ಅದರ ಜಾಡು ಹಿತವನರಿತು ನೀಡುತ್ತೆಮ್ಮ ಕೊರೆಯ ತಣಿಸಲೈ ಬೇಡಲೆಂದು ಬಂದ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿಯೇ ತಣಿವೆವಯ್ಯ ಮೂಡಿಗಾರನೇ ಹಿತವ ನುಡಿದು ಪೊರೆ ನಮ್ಮನು ಬ್ರಹ್ಮ ಸಂಗಿಯೇ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಪ್ರಭಾವರ್ಣ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ बोलो भगवान श्री रमण महर्षि की जय।
जय